15-inch rig up there that had some really horrifying jello, or I probably would have tried to edit it and post it. But it was basically, 15-inch rig with a gimbal, with sunset over a glacier with some clouds.
Wow, man.
Moment, really.
All right. We are now live, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, we've given you an introduction to Benson Kalahar, our guest this evening. And he happens to live in the same general area that I do, and I wanted to get him on here. And so I'm glad that he finally accepted and we got him on tonight. So with that being said, I want to say, hey, welcome to Drone Therapy, Season 3, Episode 11, as I've already mentioned, with our guest, Benson Kalahar. And with that being said, I keep saying with that being said a lot. Whatever. I'm going to pass it around, and I'm going to let my co-host throw their names out here and what they might want to talk about tonight or some potential questions for Benson, starting with Ron Brown.
Thank you, Bill. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Drone Therapy, where we try to, calm everybody down and get them in a relaxing drone kind of guru mindset here. So, on that note, I didn't really do a lot of drone today. I'm working on a big video project that I don't want to bore everybody to death with that involves drones today, but I worked on that a little bit, and not much else really drone related. I got a new office chair today. I'm sitting in it right now, so we're trying it out here. I got the lumbar support going, so I should sit up straight all night. So I do. John, I think we want to talk about the Zeno at some point tonight. I know this is going to be more of a FPV-based show or whatever, but we're going to squeeze about a 5-minute conversation on the Zeno end. The fact that John and Bill have Zenos on the way, and another fact, the Zeno got a controversial camera update that we don't know details about yet. But so we're going to speculate a lot on that. And on that note, I'm going to throw it over to my good friend John Cuppi here. He's going to take it away.
Yeah, so kind of bouncing off of that, just like you say, we do have a little bit of Zeno talk tonight. Benson, before the show, we were looking at some of his website where he's got tips on long range flying. So I've got a lot of questions about that because most of you guys, that I do FPV, but I don't do any long range stuff. So I think we're gonna have a really interesting show. But as for me personally, today it's been raining on and off all day. I haven't gotten any flights in, sadly, and my whoops are not fired up. So it's been kind of a lazy day. Hoping to have some better weather tomorrow.
Oh, that's very cool. Thank you, John. And for anybody that didn't understand why I was doing that, check out the T-shirts that we've got because it's the John Cuppi inspired T-shirt. The little head.
The little head.
I just want to give a quick shout out to the chat. I can see Thomas O'Sullivan, Artco. I can see, hey, Ron Brown. That Ron Brown guy's in the chat. Chris Hope, sure. David Ma, Nemo's in the chat. FSU grad. Hey, like that guy. Glad to have you in the house, D. Art, I've already mentioned Art. Let's see, who did I miss anybody early? Let's go back just to be sure. Oh, Marcus, glad to see you, Marcus. Marcus has been early in the chat. Now we'll roll back down to the bottom, and I will say thank you again for joining us this evening, Benson. Would you like to kind of give us an idea of what kind of flying you do and maybe the videos that you post up on YouTube?
Sure. So I really like to fly mountains. I've always loved being in the mountains and grew up out on the Olympic Peninsula, climbing in the Olympics. Climbed Mount Olympus when I was a kid with my parents and liked it so much I did it again once a year for about a decade there. So I've always loved the hills. I love rocks and I love summits. And so for me, quads are a great way to go peek over a ridgeline and see what's on the other side. And I just love that feeling of flying and getting up there and exploring. And it's also a great excuse to go drive a bunch of empty dirt roads and go see places that most people don't go, and then go fly them. So for me, it's just great to be able to go and see more of the world. And I try to share some of the best moments on YouTube and also on Instagram. I usually post shorter clips on Instagram. And yeah, I love flying with friends, usually just a small number at a time, because that way everybody can kind of be in the air at once. As you guys probably know, FPV, you want to only have, about 3 pilots in the air at once if you're trying to fly far. And you also want to all be about the same distance. So when we fly together far away, we'll actually fly in concert and try to kind of fly in formation, so that you don't have one person blasting out 800 milliwatts of video power up next to everybody else's receiver. And so if somebody has to turn around, everybody turns around with them. So sometimes I get to get out there with my buddy Jordan and my buddies from Bard. So
yeah,
that's a group of guys who really like flying together.
You had me at formation flying, man. I can imagine the footage, man. You can split between 3 cameras. You just, I got tingles. That was unreal. Just the thought of that, man. That's super cool. I want to jump back into the chat real quick. Ethan Mitchell, our guest next week, by the way, is in the chat and came in, and he's talking about some FPV stuff. And coming back to you, Benson. So, John, do you do mostly freestyle, and do you do any gates? So what is your big thing? Cinematics, gates, just basic FPV? What would you say it is? John, what would you say yours is? The reason I'm asking you first, John, is I want to then flip back over to Benson, because I know Ron and I basically fly camera drones, so we don't really count this thing.
I pretty much just do freestyle without a lot of intention of putting the footage online. I would typically fly without a GoPro or anything. It's only been recently that I built one with the intent of always having my session on there. And I don't do race gates or anything like that. I just fly with whatever's there. I use nature. I use whatever's around me, and that's my course.
Okay, so comparing that to what would be, so I guess basically your big thing would be the cinematic flying, Benson, but do you ever fly any freestyle or gates?
Yeah, I mean, I try to practice some freestyle because it really hones your skills. I'm not by any means a good freestyle pilot. Hanging out with folks like Jordan, like I mentioned earlier, he's incredibly talented in that. And we'll do crazy power loops between trees and what he likes to call chaos style and stuff like that. And so sometimes I try to do a little bit of that because it really hones your reflexes. And so then if something surprises you, you can be better at reacting to it. And so when you're flying out long range and you're flying in close to a cliff and suddenly there's a branch in your way, having those reflexes to just flinch out of the way and not hit it will save you a quad or a very long hike, or possibly both if you hike out to try to find it and you miss it. And so, we try to practice so that when you're out doing that high risk stuff.
That's what I was thinking, because I would see you, and that's part of why I was asking you how long you would get out of a pack, because I'd be from an old man standpoint like me, I was just thinking, oh dear God, I hope he doesn't lose it halfway up the mountain. I'm just thinking, I don't want to. I mean, even if the GPS is going to give me a beacon, I don't want to walk up the mountain.
Dude, I hate walking even 600 feet away from where I am to do the walk of shame. I couldn't imagine how to walk up a mountain. I would just be like, oh well, I'm probably going home.
Yeah, like we were saying earlier, I grew up in the hobby with these guys. This is a big 10-inch TBS Discovery, and it's my second one. My first one is on a mountain somewhere. But anyway, I grew up with that, and those quads don't like to crash. When you crash one of those, you're replacing the majority of the parts on it. It's more a question of what can I salvage rather than what needs fixing. And so because that's how I started to learn how to fly, there's the point at which you hit stuff. And you can approach that practicing by like crash, 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 and then like stop crashing. Or you can come from the other side and be like, not crashing, but like staying really far away from everything because it's scary. You get closer and closer and closer and closer to stuff, but like try not to touch the point where you start to crash.
Yeah.
And if you practice that in close, you know, flying park freestyle, like you treat crashing as a bad thing that should never happen. And it occasionally does, but you do that practice from the other side, then like I make the joke, like I just tell my friends, I really don't like to crash. And they say, well, that part isn't really durable, so I don't want to use it. And I'm like, well, I don't like to crash. And it's just a different way of thinking about flying and thinking about practice. And when you like to go long, I think that that's a really useful way to think about it, because it decreases your risk of a crash. So you got to be careful, and you got to learn what your risks are and to avoid them.
Okay, something that popped up in the chat, and I see that Ethan's asking it, but it would be a better question actually towards you, Benson. He was asking if cinematic footage would be better coming out of a fixed wing, and I personally am going to add this question: have you ever flown a fixed wing?
Oh yeah, I love flying fixed wing. I've got TBS Caparinha. That's a blast to fly. Both the V1 and the V2.
I just want to tell everybody out there in TV land or YouTube land that I'm very grateful for having Benson on tonight, because he's speaking like, okay, way up here above my head. I'm like, and I'm just going to ask John later, okay, how much can you translate?
Bill, don't put yourself down like
No,
I'm
not saying that, because okay.
Come on, man.
Wait. I'm not putting myself down. I'm saying I'm eager to learn that part of it. But you know me, I love taking really cool, colorful, hippie style pictures and videos. So this is really cool to me. That's why I asked him on, because that's like I've told him before, told you, Benson, before we went live. To me, it's all like Nat Geo stuff. And I was going to actually, before I went off on my tangent, which I usually do to explain it to you. I was about ready to try to look up Jordan.
Yeah, Jordan Temkin. He goes by Jet FPV. You may have also seen him on there's a TV show called DRL that a couple people may have heard of.
So he was okay, but you said it goes by Jen FPV,
Jet.
Oh, Jet FPV.
Since the question was asked at me, though, I will say this.
Bingo.
Flying fixed wing, I've only flown like a Sport Cub S. I've not flown anything big fixed wing. But like,
man,
if you fly fixed wing, you'll be able to get certain kinds of video, but you won't be able to get video that you can get if you're flying a quad. I mean, a fixed wing, I don't know how you would do certain maneuvers, for example, with a fixed wing. It's just not going to work. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, although there are maneuvers you can do with a fixed wing that you can't do with a quad.
Exactly. So it's more like he's asking what would be better. I don't think it's like asking, well, what would be better, a hammer or a screwdriver? Neither is better. They're both great for different kinds of cinematics, honestly.
Yeah. One thing to keep in mind is with fixed wing, because you've got so much wing surface area, you're significantly more impacted by wind gusts. And so when the turbulence hits you, you do kind of like bounce around. And so for that like feeling of flying that you get when the camera is like banking into turns and things, yeah, you get that from a fixed wing better than anything else. But you also get that feeling of getting tossed around by the wind that sometimes people like, but sometimes it's distracting. And so then something like a Hero 7 or the DJI Osmo may be able to help sort of clean up your video a little bit when you're flying fixed wing. And I actually, I haven't yet put a Hero 7 on a Cuppi, because a lot of the places I like to fly are a really, really tight LZ where the VTOL of a quad is super nice. But having a Hero 7 on a Cuppi, I think would be really interesting, because you can go so far. And like a pack that'll keep a 7-inch quad in the air for about 20 minutes for me will keep a Cuppi in the air for an hour.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So going back into the chat real quick, I can see Cardoso Media came into the house. He does some great cinematic work with just like Spark drones and cannons. Am I saying it? Canon cameras and stuff. Birdman's in the house. Going back, Corey man said hello to everybody. Howdy, Corey. Glad you came in. And Bryan from True Drone Reviews is in the house. So everybody check out Bryan and give a howdy to Bryan. And then I'm going to roll back. And then Ron, anything
Bill,
you'd like to ask Benson? I know you said something about a fixed wing, so I got to go and chat.
Bill, I got an announcement.
All right, go.
You brought up Birdman 316. It's Birdman's birthday tomorrow, so I want everybody to wish the Birdman a happy birthday. I think he's 39 tomorrow.
Happy birthday, Mikey.
Happy birthday, Birdman.
Happy birthday, Birdman.
I just called him Mike. Okay, now
That's our scheduled program now.
Since we do that, we're just kind of sporadic and spontaneous, and sometimes we're short-winded minded and go off on crazy tangents. With that being said, since you brought this up, I want to ask you, since it's been out for a little while and you're not among our normal little crew that we talk to, what do you personally think of the Osmo Action?
So I've been flying with one a little bit recently, and it is a blast. I really, really like the image quality that comes out of it. Yep. And I really, I think that for folks who want to do like vlogging style stuff, the forward-facing screen is a really cool feature. I don't really like lenses being pointed at me so much, so that's not my speed. But I think it is really cool. And as far as flying with it goes, I love the video footage. There are a couple things that GoPro has always done extremely well, just in terms of like video tweaks. One of them is dealing with the sky. I noticed that my Osmo Action, if there's a lot of sky in shot, will auto expose to the sky, and the trees become just like black silhouettes, which just about every other camera in the world does. But GoPro has some special magic to prevent that from happening. So that's just something to keep in mind with it. You can, of course, overcome that by using all of its tremendously fantastic manual settings, which, like, if that's your thing, is awesome. And there are some great ND filters and things for folks who want to like slow down the shutter speed in bright light. So it's a great camera, and I think it's really fun to fly. But then there are also some reasons that you might still want to run a GoPro. The stabilization on the GoPro also seems to be much more friendly to the sort of flying that I do. The Osmo Action is really, really good, but then sometimes you'll get like a yaw twitch where the footage just seems to like twitch left and right for a minute and then come back. But I also have this suspicion that DJI will be tweaking the algorithm because, you know, they needed some data to work with. So I'm excited about it. I'm really excited that a camera of that caliber is available on the market to give GoPro a run for their money.
Okay, now since you said that, what do you think about an actual drone manufacturer coming out that could rival DJI? Do you see anything like that out there at all?
You know, it's funny. I spend so much time in the FPV space where the only options are like, if you want something good, you're buying TBS or immersion, and then there are a bunch of bang good companies that are making, you know, pretty decent RTF or like find and fly quads, but none of them are really top tier. I guess Emax makes some really good stuff, but still, like, most of that is in the FPV space. Yeah.
I know what you're saying, actually, because, you know, you bring up how really I still don't think that there is a true, perfectly awesome bind and fly. There's always something that's wrong with them. Like even Emax. Emax does a really amazing job, but their biggest downfall is their video transmitters, right? Their video transmitters, they suck. They're terrible. And Then you also get models like the Tiny Hawk that Bill's holding up there, where their build quality is just like that camera shouldn't just pop out. This is where the whole squeeze the little head meme relevant to the show. I mean, I actually got people on the show looking at their Tiny Hawks. I'm like, is your camera a little off centered? Yeah, take a look. You've probably popped the camera out of place. Bill didn't even realize he popped his camera out until I pointed it out to him.
Well, the thing about it was where I'm blind anyway, and the goggles that come with the kit, that even at full magnification is like, what?
But Ryan didn't notice either. A lot of people don't actually notice that they have a problem with their Tiny Hawk right away, because most people would think, oh, that camera is screwed in to the base thing. It's not. It's just held in by 2 tabs. I mean, it's just awful. Like, people have to fill it, with hot glue to keep it. You should never have to do that on a bind and fly. There's always something wrong with these bind and flies. That's why still, if you want the best experience build, you have to build. And you have to build with good parts. So, I mean, I understand what he's trying to say there.
That said, I've done some of my best long-range cinematic flying on one of these, which is a TBS Oblivion. It's a ready-to-fly quad, right? Like, you can buy the RTF kit and go fly long-range that day. It comes with Crossfire, the Crossfire transmitter, everything you need.
Pretty cool.
It's a fantastic kit. And
the frame looks like it could take a serious hit too, though.
What's interesting is the frame is actually made out of a composite plastic, rather than carbon like we're used to, and that has some really nice aspects for RF transparency, because carbon will get in the way of your radio signals, and this plastic doesn't.
So it's easier to fly further, yeah, like you were saying.
Yeah.
How much more range would you get out of that kind of a frame as opposed to a carbon frame?
I mean, you can always mount your antennas really well on carbon, and so it doesn't really necessarily mean you can get better range. It means that it's harder to get worse range. Does that make sense? Like, you can mount your antennas, just tape it to the frame on this thing, and it's still going to be fine. Where you tape your Crossfire antenna to a carbon frame, you're not going very far.
Well, see, that you were talking about before, you didn't like talking about having the camera facing you that much. You've got tons of information that you should, because I'm like little bits and stuff I'm picking up here just because I'm just now learning the lingo, and I understand what John's talking about the Tiny Hawk and the VTX and all that stuff. So I'm starting to pick it up. And earlier, I wasn't knocking myself for putting myself down. It's a learning process, and so I'm just saying I'm grateful to learn. And you got a lot to share, so it'd be really cool if sometimes you would share with others. I think they'd get a kick out of it. You'd be surprised.
I try to share in writing. I think that in our community in particular, it's very common for information to be only available in YouTube video format. And I think that's unfortunate, because different people consume at different speeds. And so I like it when I can write things down. So I wrote basically everything I could think of that I know about long range at fpv.bensonk.net. And it's basically years of experience trying to be as safe as I possibly can. And I've gotten a lot of great feedback from it. I chatted it to the guys on the FPV show. I don't know if you guys listen to podcasts much, but we did an FPV show episode where I talked about it a bit with them, and got a lot of good feedback.
The fact that you were talking about having it written down, the minute you said it, it made so much more sense as a learning tool, because you can literally, like you said, people learn at different rates or comprehend at different rates. So sometimes my old brain doesn't work like it used to. So I'll have to, I can watch a YouTube video and I might have to rewind it 5, 6, 8, 10 times, as opposed to where if I can find it written down with maybe a visual aid, like a chart, I'll do much better. That's brilliant. I love that idea, and maybe that's something that we need to start to maybe realize, that maybe some of the old ways aren't so bad.
Yeah, and I also think that being able to reference it, and I've had guys who I've talked to about flying long range mention in their videos that they were thinking about something I had said in this document when they were thinking about turning around. Or like one of the things that I encourage people to do is when you're flying FPV, one of the things that can happen is if you don't have a GPS, you can get lost. And so you need to make sure that you know how to find your way home. And if you turn around every so often and look back and see what home looks like at that distance, you can find it again. And so then I've had people who like my buddy Brandon, who I talked to on Slack a fair bit, posted a video, and I'll have to find his YouTube channel. He's BR Overby. But anyway, he posted a video where he would like turn around and look back at home, and he kept like mentioning my guide when he was doing his turnarounds to like make sure that he knew his way home, which is really cool.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the whole point is I don't think anybody's gone in depth as to how to do it properly and safely. And you're combining, not just a month or two experience like a lot of these channels will do. They're like, oh, I tested your product, or this is my format that you need to follow and give me 1 million views. You're actually using data that you've correlated over a period of time to create a valid guide, which is really good. And that's part of, like I was explaining to you, why we made this show and why I get such an eclectic bunch of guests on here, because the door is open to anybody that wants to come on and wants to talk about anything.
Yeah.
So that's why. And I love the fact that, like I was saying before, it's an old view that's brought back to help everybody learn, which is great.
Yeah.
Ron. I saw Ron drinking water. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start see if I see you doing something. I'm gonna pass to you. Ron, you got anything to add? Come on.
Well, to the FPV conversation?
No, you can even shout out to the chat. You can ask. I'm just glad to have somebody here that's more, has a huge knowledge. Okay, I got a question to throw out there to everybody. What's everybody think of cine whoops? Go.
Oh,
awesome. Love them. Don't have one. Want one.
4K from a whoop. I'm interested. I'm in.
iFlight Cineview looks awesome. Absolutely awesome.
EIS built in? How are you going to get EIS built into an FPV quad?
I mean, it's all in the camera, I guess. I mean, basically what's in the Osmo, right, or the GoPro, it's all electronic stabilization. So it's all in that chipset.
John, I would love someday to mix, like, say, footage from, my Mavic in with, 4K footage from a Cinewhoop or whatever, and kind of blend it, like, I think you can do something very creative with that.
Well, I was thinking how, like, when he said that about formation flying earlier and having, like, when 3 of them do it, yeah, it would be great to have it. But I'm just thinking having those 3 different shots. Sorry, Ron. Smack me. I didn't mean to do that. Great, Ron. Great idea, Ron.
We'll have to come out to Seattle and fly in formation in Everett once you get the land system in place.
I can imagine me going somewhere with them and they'll be like, guys, did you bring the oxygen?
Cinewhoops are really interesting because that phrase or word has been coined, and it means so many different things to different people. From the Shendrone squirt or nutbag, which is, literally carting around a GoPro on a 3-inch quad, like a Hero 7 or something like that. Or now with Real Steady Go, some folks are probably going to prefer to actually run Hero 6 because it's more compatible with Real Steady. All the way down to, a RunCam Split or something better. The new the new dual lens camera, Tarsier, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
Is really interesting to have these like super light bounce off of stuff cinematic quads.
Yep. RD's Jones was saying, do the Cinewhoops even have EIS? I don't think any of them have EIS right now. I mean, like we're at the stage where oh, it's really cool to have an HD camera
Curtis
on a
showed
Whoop.
us one, remember? Curtis
What?
showed us the link to the EIS Cinewhoop 4K.
I don't remember it being EIS. Are you sure?
Yes, Curtis. Okay. Back in the
EIS.
Back in the chat real quick. Yeah, Mega B 4K has EIS.
Has EIS. That's crazy.
Dual
man.
camera.
I did that last time then.
Okay, jumping back into chat, wanted to say hi to Drone Shots. Corey said something again. Sorry, I didn't want to say it. Corey, hey, what's up? He said he didn't like the regulations. I noticed that, or avoided the regulations. Curtis said the Mega B shouted that out. Parts in Texas a year. Ryan went to take a shower, but did he come back? Yes, he wants one. Andy reviewed it. Greg Pittman. Hey, Marcus. Marcus said something. Marcus, I saw you said Payne Field. What were you talking about, Payne Field? What?
Hey, Bill. We're going to have maybe a drone therapy first night. When we get into our Xeno conversation, I've secretly sent Marcus the link to the show, and he will be glad to join us for the Xeno Nation break of the show here.
Oh, now?
Well, whenever we go into it, he's ready to jump in.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you can bring him on now. You don't mind, do you, Benson?
Not at all.
It's another one of our old wisdom buddies that will give you all us more a mellow mood.
And Bill, we got a correction in the chat.
I feel like Kermit, or no, excuse me, I feel like Grover when I'm doing this from Sesame Street.
To the magic
to be on some people.
Marcus will appear on the screen here shortly. Marcus, go to your your Facebook chat and grab that link.
Okay, there it is. Curtis put up the link to the Mega B with EIS.
With the EIS.
Yeah, but he was saying it uses a GoPro. It uses a GoPro.
What? No.
Yeah.
I found another one that actually had 2 cameras on it. Does it really?
The other thing I was saying was like, yeah, it may have had 2 cameras, but that doesn't mean it has electronic image stabilization. But what I was saying was, I don't know if I would consider a 3-inch quad like the size I was talking about either. Like, I'm talking about no bigger than say 85 millimeters. Like, we've got the URUAV 85. We've got the Mobula 7 HD, all sorts of stuff like that. But
can't forget Beta FPV.
Yeah, there's Beta FPV makes stuff too. Cinebee 75 HD, I believe there is, and I don't think any of those have EIS. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you might be right, but maybe I did a Google search and found it.
Yeah,
Google cameras, man.
The EIS for a second, John. Of all these Cinewhoops, as we're loosely calling them here, I know you don't own any, so I'm just asking your opinion based off what you read. Which one would you recommend? Somebody.
If I was forced into buying one today, it would probably be the Cinebee 75. That one honestly looks like it has the least amount of problems because I hate to say it right now with the Cinewhoop world. When you buy one, you play the Jello lottery big time. I mean, you don't know what you're gonna get when you get a Mobula 7 HD or the UR65. I don't really think the quality control is there yet, unfortunately, for some of those models. And the Cinebee is interesting because it's not exactly a Whoop, but it's like a hybrid Whoop and I don't know what kind of frame it's called, but I would put bet on that one. It seems to have better quality control overall.
The iFlight Cinebee 4K Whoop, right?
And Ryan's saying that I think he means Andy RC said it was great. I guess the one you were just talking about, John. I mean, John. I think Ryan said the one you were just talking about. Andy RC liked a lot.
Yeah, I think Andy RC did say he likes it a lot, and Andy's a pretty honest reviewer, and he's very on the up and up with the technical aspects of things. So I trust him over a lot of other people out there. So yeah, I would have to go with Andy. The iFlight Cinebee looks absolutely amazing, but it's gonna cost you because I think it's almost $200 on Amazon. I mean,
the one I'm looking at right now. The iFlight Cinebee 4K Whoop Bind and Fly is $260 US, and that's running Free Sky Mini XM Plus.
Good. Let's see. I'm looking at I'm configuring one right now. I'm configuring a Cinebee with the Caddx Turtle V2 camera, And yeah, I'm gotten FreeSky Mini XM Plus. Ooh, I would like to honestly run an RXSR on that though. I love to know what's going on with my signal and all that. I would probably want to run an RXSR. Yeah, you could be looking at over $200 for this kind of thing right now. Yeah, so, but at least if you get something like that, I don't think you're going to be playing that Jello lottery as much. That's the whole thing.
Right. So maybe at this point, maybe it's best to sit back and wait a while until these are a little bit mature product and the prices stabilize a little bit.
Listen, you know what? China knows that North America is a huge market, and even just in general, Northern Hemisphere is such a huge market for drones. And that's when we start to see a lot of new, awesome whoops come into the market starting, fall, when they know people are starting to be stuck inside and whatnot places. So I'm curious to see what they're going to do with the whoops come this fall.
They're going to take advantage of the droneless summer.
Yeah. Well, I told you what we said last week, Bill. It's not a droneless summer. DJI came out with government drones.
Well, I still think that we're going to be surprised that sometime here in the next week or two, or in maybe the next month, I think it's still there. I think they got too far with it to just jerk it back and redesign the whole damn thing. And there's those pictures are out there. Maybe they're some kind of speculative design, I don't know, but they're kind of popping up everywhere. And every now and again, there's another view that's popping up from the same set of drawings. So unless somebody's just drawn up about 20 or 30 of them and it's like, okay, we'll just let them out a little bit at a time until we convince everybody it's real, then I don't know. I think we're going to see something soon. I could be wrong. You never know.
Hey,
Benson, I want to get back to Benson real quick. I know Marcus is here. We kind of play around with some lower end toy drones too. And as of recently, we've been comparing the inexpensive Hubsan drone, the Xeno drone, to kind of lower end like DJI Spark drone. And I wasn't sure if you ever messed around with camera drones and stuff. And I wanted to jump back over to you real quick and ask you that before we went into our little toy drone segment.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've been flying DJI products since I started, in the sense that the TVS Discovery, which is my big rig here, has a DJI flight controller in it. And so then when the Mavic came out, I was really impressed with that, and I picked one up. And I really enjoyed that for photography in particular, still photography. I've also always loved playing around with the Blade products. The Blade MQX was actually my first quadcopter, which was an acro mode only quad long time ago.
Did you ever have the Blade 350 QX? Because that was my first GPS model, the 350 QX too.
I didn't ever own one, but my buddy had one, and I flew it a bit. I also loved the Nano QX, and then of course the Inductrix, which spawned the Tiny Whoop. They make some really good stuff. I also had can't remember what it was called, but there's a like 3.5 inch or so, like a tiny version of the 350 QX.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, it was
QX maybe.
Yeah, 200 QX. Yeah, I had that too. I was a total Blade and Horizon Hobby fanboy per se in 2015. I absolutely loved their products. I was completely anti-DJI because I didn't want, all the stuff that was going on with DJI and the Geo stuff. And I was really, really on board with the Blade train. And it's kind of sad what happened. Like, they came out with the Blade Chroma, which was the successor to 350. And DJI basically ate them for lunch with the Phantom 4. They came in so aggressively with that pricing that Blade just pretty much got out of the whole camera drone war per se. Now they just sell Unique products, and that's it. Unique was actually the people who they contracted to make the 350, the Chroma, all that stuff. Unique made most of that stuff. And at a certain point, they were just like, yeah, we're done.
Yeah. I mean, I've always loved Horizon. Their out-of-box experience is like nobody else.
Yeah, I mean, if you're brand new to the hobby, they do make it easy. I just wish Spectrum wasn't so expensive. I left Spectrum because it just wasn't what I was looking for anymore, per se.
It's amazing when you look at like a Crossfire receiver being significantly cheaper than a lot of Spectrum receivers.
I know, and like in 2016 when I was exiting Spectrum, they didn't even have a telemetry receiver at all. And here I'm looking, well, I can get the X4 RSB and have RSSI, but with Spectrum, I couldn't even have that. So I was just like, yeah, they were still working on it at that point. And spec receivers cost a minimum of $40 or $50. It's just like you can get the X4 RSB for $19. It was just a no-brainer. I sold and got out of Spectrum, and I don't regret it, but my time with Horizon Hobby, I won't forget it. It was still a good experience as someone brand new.
I mean, I still love my little DX9, and so I'll fly Spectrum bind and fly stuff with my DX9. It's a great radio.
Okay, jumping back into the chat that's going on right here, I can see that Curtis Dart has a Spectrum that he has for sale. Does anybody want to buy it? Okay, and going on with that, going back to the chat where Ethan Mitchell was talking earlier, where I was being speculative, saying that I still think that there's something new going to come out. He's speculating even further that he's hoping that DJI and Parrot might come up with something. And I saw Ron Brown type in the chat that, are you hearing the same rumors that there might be an Anafi version 2? And then I was going to turn around and go back to Benson and say, have you ever heard of the Parrot Anafi? I've
heard of it, but I don't know much about it.
Okay, Ron Brown has one, and Marcus Crawford, who has just jumped in to join us to go into the Xeno portion, that there's a reason behind that too, and we'll explain that in a little bit also. But then I'm going to go throw it over to Ron and Marcus to give us a kind of a brief overview of the Parrot Anafi. Marcus.
Yeah, the Parrot Anafi. So I wasn't exactly prepared for that, but what it probably has. No, I love it. It's one of my favorite drones, and I also want to say really much respect to Benson. Long distance FPV just blows my mind. You know, he's talking about getting lost. Hey, I get lost with my GPS drone. Thank goodness for return to home. So that's all I can say about that. But the Anafi probably has the best app out there. It's the easiest to use. It is the you're not drilling through a bunch of layers of menus to get to what you need. Ron is showing the Anafi right there. Very easy to deploy, super quiet. You never have props in your shot ever, the way that drone is designed. And it has kind of a unique protection around the gimbal there. And it takes flipping really good 4K footage. So yeah, Ron.
One before you leave, Marcus, and how's precision landing on it?
Precision landing is you're talking about with the. I mean, it gets pretty close. I mean, it's it's no DJI when it comes to precision landing, but it's always really close to its GPS takeoff spot. So.
Marcus and I think about doing a precision landing show sometime where maybe we'll rate as many drones as we can, maybe from 1 to 10 on precision landing ability. And we can use the baseline as the Mavic 2 as the 10. And I don't know what we'll use as the 1. But we'll have a baseline. And maybe we'll get a spreadsheet going of how, our good friend Ryan Duvall proved that the Altel Evo has to rate like a 9 or a 10 on the precision landing, right?
I just got to jump back in the chat real quick and said, Marcus Parks and Tech said you work for Parrot now, don't you?
I you know what? I like them all, so I am an equal opportunity drone flyer.
No, Marcus is just lying when he says he's retired. He's really working down low on the down low for Parrot.
Yeah, there we go. Just wanted to give a quick shout out even to see Newfound Drone Productions. Howdy. Andrew Reitzel, I hope I said that right. Jumped in. Glad to have you. Check each other's channels out. Okay, now, John, what are you and Bryan Singleton talking about in the chat? I'm seeing something about FPV goggles and a Xeno. Am I seeing that?
We're actually talking about being able to use the Mavic Pro 1 with Fat Shark goggles or the Xeno. because I've just wanted to fly my Mavic with my Fat Shark goggles for the longest time, and I thought someone would come up with something by now, but I haven't seen anything. And you know those DJI goggles, man, they're huge, they're ridiculous on your face. And you know, I see Ken Heron fly his Phantom 4 Pro with his Fat Shark goggles all the time, and it's easy because you get that HDMI out. But with the Mavic, you don't have that, and I don't even know how to get HDMI out from an iOS device. It's always been a huge pain in the butt. I don't want to buy an Android device for use with DJI products because, as you know, that's a hit or miss thing too. And I've been just waiting to see if somebody would come up with some way to get DJI's video feed from the Mavic to Fat Shark goggles. And True John Reviews is telling me he's got the solution. He's like, you should buy unique goggles because they're cheap, and that all I need is the Lightning to HDMI cable. And he linked it to me. Now I swear I've seen this cable before, but maybe this is it. But I thought that this cable wasn't what I needed, but maybe it is. So I'm gonna bookmark it. There's a lot of fake ones of these out there too. It's really expensive, but if it can do what I want, I mean, I'm gonna consider it.
Okay, so Benson, do you have any idea about how that might be done? Because don't get me wrong, I'm just saying, me personally, since John don't know, that I'm going to go to the next bigger brain in the room.
Well, thank you. I think that it really depends on the hardware, and I haven't looked closely at what the Mavic controller is capable of. I loved my DJI goggles, honestly. The experience of looking at an HD picture while you're flying is pretty hard to beat, and the latency of the system is painful. But if you're going to suffer that latency, then you may as well use the bigger goggles. That's just my opinion, though.
Okay, how bad is the latency then? Because you're making it sound like it's horrible now.
If you're trying to fly tight spaces, which is kind of my habit, it's really tough, right? When you're trying to run down a chute, you can't.
Yeah. Okay. So I get you. It's that bad.
It's like trying to play a video game.
It's the price you pay for the picture.
Yeah.
Brian, I do have a question for you. I don't understand how, when it comes to the Mavic, you would be able to use this. I think I remember this, and maybe I'm having a dumb moment here, but for the Mavic Pro, you have to have the Lightning cable plugged in from the controller into the bottom here. So does this do a pass through? Is that how that will work? Because otherwise, because I can't have my Lightning cable port taken up when I need to use it for the Mavic.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
So you tried it and it works. He's not giving us anything yet.
Hey, John.
Yeah, let me know about that when you get a chance.
Okay, no, Roland. Okay, John, I'm going to let you go, Ron, but I want to give a quick shout out because Ron Brown, you're the one that turned us on to this, probably because you saw it in another video. But our good friends at Progressive RC in the city of Seattle, Washington, have come up with a unique and fantastic cable for the Hubsan Xeno so that you can hook it up and get a full charge using a balance charger and not the one that you get from Hubsan. So thank you for that, Ron, and glad that we know about it. And I can pretty much just drive down to the city and get one. I don't have to get it shipped. Right. And I will throw it to you, Ron, to ask your question now.
Okay, John, now with the Mavic, if you're flying it like standard, you would get the tiny little, I'm going to call it OTG cable that would hook from the left side of the Mavic controller into your phone. But that the USB port on the bottom of the Mavic controller free.
Right.
You could output that to a goggle and get a signal out of that somehow.
I've been waiting to see someone do that, Ron, and to this day, I still haven't seen anyone tap that for whatever reason.
You got your answer back. Yes, it has a USB-C pass-through, so you need a USB-C to Lightning cable also.
Okay, so it looks like we're in a little bit of a cable hell here with Apple. No surprise.
No surprise. Because that cable is expensive too. I've discovered that myself.
Right.
But,
Okay.
okay. So okay. Maybe so that's possible. Then I just have to buy a bunch of cables.
Wow, that's a great way to look at it.
Hey, Bill, before you go on here, Marcus is muted for some reason, but that cable you just talked about from Progressive, whatever, Marcus may have it on set here.
No, it's not. Okay, Mucus, he's not muted from us.
Yeah, Progressive RC.
Why was he saying he was muted for some reason?
Well, I do mute it when I'm not talking, so but yeah, so there we go. I don't know. Hopefully you guys can see that. It was like $4 from Progressive RC. So you got the banana cables for power, and then gosh, you guys know more about what you call this little connector. But
balance connector.
It's the balance connector, but there's a
connector.
Well, hold it. 3SJST. There we go.
JST is the name of that connector.
Yeah.
Again, I'll say, I guess it's just me being lazy. I'll admit to it. If I don't know the connector, I'll take a picture of it and send the message to John. And John be like, all right, I'm going to tell you again. I'm just like, man, you know me in my short-term memory. I live in Washington State. Come on.
Now, Bill, I made a video on how to use that cable with your iMac charger, but I didn't exactly do everything right in the video. So luckily, a couple people, I know Gorilla Man is one of them, read his comments on my video, and he tells you everything I did wrong.
Don't cross the streams.
Right. So
yeah, don't connect. If you got to connect it to a battery, don't touch those two together. Like fireworks.
Don't do what I say. I know it's Girl Man. Somebody else put the proper comments of how to set it and and the voltage and everything like that. But even with me doing it wrong, it cut my charging time in half. One of the little known secrets about this, is it takes about 3 hours to charge a battery on the charger that Hubson provides you. But if you IMAX with the progressive wiring, you can cut that in half. So,
Ron, I'm going to be doing that. I don't like to charge with anything that's not my hobby grade charger, so I'm definitely going to be doing that.
So two things. It was Thomas Hart that gave you that advice on your video there, Ron. But also he talked about using the LIH
in the chat. Wake up! Howdy, Ken. Good to see you, buddy. Hadn't seen you in forever. Okay, he has a question. Anticipation. Yes, we stop everything because Ken's here. I hadn't seen you in forever. I miss you, Ken. Go ahead.
Who was speaking?
Oh, yeah, I was talking about that they're saying to use that LIHV setting rather than the LiPo setting on the iMac charger. I was messing around with mine. I can't find that LIHV setting. So anyway, that's just a side note.
Well, I'll keep talking about it. When the question comes up, I'll shout again. I just want to let everybody know he was here because I hadn't seen him drop in a while. It was cool, So go for it, man.
Okay. I'll make an updated video, Marcus, and I'll show you how to do the proper settings.
Right on, brother.
Okay, so since we're waiting on his question, glad to see you, Ken. See you in everything. The reason that we've gotten on the Xeno subject is just so happened Monday that John happened to be on the show with Ron and Marcus, and Ryan was on with them too. And we were talking about how if we wanted a Xeno, it'd have to be below $200 before we'd buy it. Next thing you know, friend of ours that comes to chats with us regularly and everything comes up and says, well, I got two, I'll sell. And he said, I'll sell you one for $150. And we're like, wait, what? And he says, I tell you what, I'll even sell you one for $175 with 2 batteries. And I said, say what? And so needless to say, come this Friday, me and John are going to have new Xenos, and to make the story even better, I hadn't used my PayPal in forever. Okay, so I logged into it because it was really a phenomenal deal, and I looked at my PayPal, and there was like $112 of bonus cash. So Bill got a Hubson Xeno with 2 batteries for like $88. Yeah,
I know. I'm really happy. I'm really, really grateful as well. FSU grad 03.
Yes,
Peace
exactly. And we've got him talked into. He's because he's kind of upgraded. He's got. Did he say he's got an Anafi now and something DJI, maybe an Air? What did you get, D? Oh wait a minute. Company called Fluidity.
Oh,
He's
by the way.
Fluidity. You need trust me, you need to go ahead and get Scott on, man. He's like a national treasure. He's been on the space shuttle like 5 times. He's a doctor. He's been on CBS, NBC, every network known to man. The controller is pretty cool, man. It's, just have him on your show. You really need it. And he's a great talker. As a matter of fact, he's coming on here, Ken, July 31st. And we're all giddy about it, man. I mean, this dude's an astronaut, been in space 5 times, did the most difficult spacewalk in history. And he's going to come on our show. And
Yeah, he's pretty cool. He's a pretty cool dude.
Yeah, Ron Brown and I actually got to ask him some questions. And yes, I ordered that FT Aviator about 3 months ago because I am really bad with cross coupling. I'm always doing an inadvertent yaw or an inadvertent roll. I'm just not that great with the sticks. I'm going to admit it. And with that joystick, that eliminates all that. So that's really an exciting development.
Yeah. Also, and yes, definitely, Ken, get a hold of Curtis. He's got the contacts he's telling you he has. Get a hold of him now.
And also, when Marcus and I got a chance to talk to Scott, we also mentioned that he should come to Spin Up, and he said he's definitely coming. So
that's super cool. Kelly ought to add him as a speaker.
Well, that's not to Kelly.
That's to Kelly to add it because you wouldn't have to vet him.
Right. We will do that, Bill.
He's been vetted.
Yeah. We will do that.
But yeah, that would be an awesome. Yeah, he is going to be at Spin Up. Oh, Proper FPV. Hello, Nemo. He's telling you, giving you a shout out. Howdy. FSU. And a Mavic Air. That's what it was. So yes. Can we actually use your name, dude, or do you just sort of we're just going to keep calling you FSU? Because most of us, if you ever noticed in the chat, we all know each other, call each other by name.
Bill, he may work for the CIA or something. So
no, we not bull.
Hey, by the way, he's going to be at Spin Up as well. FSU grad is going to be there.
Oh, D's going to be at Spin Up.
We'll call him FSU grad, Marcus.
Yeah.
It'll be difficult to unlearn. Oh, okay. So here's the thing: has anybody on that's here tonight used the Aviator? Because what Ken's saying is he's afraid. I get basically just what I'm getting from the question he's asking is once you get accustomed to using the Aviator, is it going to be hard to you to go back to your standard dual stick controllers? Because I think he's wanting to test it out, but maybe not use it as his main controller, and he's kind of concerned that it might mess with his, cinematic game when he goes back.
I have a concern about that as well because obviously I have a lot of DJI drones, but I have also a lot of non-DJI drones that then you'll be going back to the sticks. So that is a great question, and we'll just have to find out, won't we?
Okay, well that's kind of cool. And I can see Nemo's talking in the chat. He's saying he works on airplanes. Does that count? I'm going to say, did you see that video about that engine about falling off that plane and it just rolling around in the engine and all the people having to take a video of it and praying that they was going to land? So I hope you didn't work on that plane. Just
DeMarco. Bill, FSU grad is DeMarco.
Yeah, I know. John and I know him. We already know DeMarco.
We know.
And he's been in RC World for like a year, Ron, almost. Yes, and we didn't know who he was. But I don't know if his Facebook account is active or not. So, I mean, I sent him a message like, dude, can you add a friend up? But I don't know if he uses his account that much or not anymore.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to – hey, Benson, you want to throw something in? Because I don't want – you look like you're bored now. I've been rambling.
I just don't know anything about the topic, so I'm trying not to cut in.
Oh, no, that's the whole point. If something that we say actually stems your curiosity, then say, yo, like, not that I would think you'd be interested in a Hubsan Xeno, but we could tell you that right now they're at their all-time lowest point of $245 that it shoots 4K at, 30 frames a second. What all else does it do, guys?
No, we want to update you. It was $230 the other day.
Oh, what?
Monday, right, Marcus? Was it Monday? It went to $230.
Yeah, it went to 230.
But it was $230 at one point.
That's why I'm telling you. I think there's a spark coming out, guys. There's something there that they're trying to make.
With the DJI spark rumor.
Hey, Bill, there's something in the if the spark would come out. My button.
I'm going to do whatever weird, crazy ritual to bring on the spark 2.
Marcus, you ready to hit that button?
Oh, I opened up that credit card so fast.
Exactly, the credit card. Yeah, no, they'd be like, honey, where's my debit card? Don't you go near the debit card. You get the plastic.
What do you guys think of the Spark?
These guys talked me into buying one. In fact, Ron Brown put me onto one. I bought one for $230, brand new. And I got to be honest with you, I didn't know what I was missing. And I'll tell you what is so convenient about it is when you're traveling, it's so small, so easy to deploy, and so easy to get back. You can throw it up for 5 minutes and take a picture of something you want to see, bring it back down, and you're done. And it flies like a DJI drone, very smooth, very easy to fly.
And that 180-degree pitch, man. Can you imagine, having the underbelly view of stuff, man? That just blows my mind.
That was the Spark.
I've not seen it being exploited in any videos, though. Nowhere.
No.
That's what's so confusing. How long has that drone been out? How many videos have you seen? And, man, I'm thinking like, going under a suspension bridge while people are walking over. Or a bunch of cars flying by on a bridge on the Autobahn or something, and they're just kind of heading towards the bridge and then going under, any of that stuff. I don't understand why, or for that matter, maybe an open trestle railroad bridge, or flying under a flock of ducks.
You know what I think it is, Bill? I think that a lot of people mostly use it casually because simply because it's 1080p. I think that when people shoot, they want to shoot in 4K. People are obsessed with shooting in 4K. Everything's got to be in 4K today.
Oh, when you invert it, you can't shoot but at 1080?
We're talking about two different things, Bill. You, I think, are confused. Benson asked about the Spark.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
So I get, Bill, you were talking about the Anafi. And, Bill, you're exactly right. You don't see a lot of people taking advantage of that upward-facing camera.
I've never taken advantage of it myself yet.
Maybe it's the phone ringing and I'm not catching everything. I'll shut up now. Go back to the Spark.
Yeah, I said my piece. I just love it because it's so easy to carry, deploy, and retrieve. And yes, it's only 1080p, but it's awesome 1080p.
Okay, but can the same thing be said about the Parrot Anafi? Easy to carry, easy to deploy, and small in size.
Definitely, but at a higher price point.
But not much, man. Come on. And you're getting
not much, but at a high. No, this is I'll do the weight test, but this feels lighter than the Spark. I would say. And
so that's is that below the limit?
No.
Well, I have to go on the battery on it now, so really, like, the battery pipe puts it just slightly over the limit, Bill, unfortunately. But of course, it folds, so it's a little smaller than Spark. I'm going to say it's a little bit bigger than Spark unfolded. Would you agree, Mark?
It is. It absolutely
but of course, it folds up to be the thinnest drone in the whole collection. Nothing folds up to be this thin, but it's a little longer than like probably the Spark and some of the other teeny drones. But
so the reason you're asking, Benson, are you kind of interested in getting a small drone like the Spark? Is that why?
No, I mean, I've looked at it, and I'm pretty sure that the next camera rig I buy is going to end up being a Mavic 2.
Oh yes,
because I really like I said, I really enjoy using the Mavic for still photography, and the quality of that sensor is just phenomenal.
You're going to go zoom, or are you going to go pro?
I think I wanted to go with the Pro because I really like the low light capability. One of the coolest things you can do, in my opinion, with still photography from an aerial platform is line up just epic sunset shots. And if you want to get an epic sunset shot, you want to take a nice HDR, low noise photo of the dark areas, right? Because like you want to get the brilliant sky, but you also want to get some details of the ground. And when you do that, that means that you need a camera that can run a high ISO and still give you high quality raw photos out. And so for that reason, I'm really interested in the Mavic 2.
I agree. I think for just photos, I think the Mavic 2 Pro is probably unchallenged as a photo drone. The video is debatable, but for just photos, I think you're right, Benson. That's still unchallenged.
All right. Thank you for the setup, gentlemen. And I haven't ranted about this in a while. Hello, DJI and the smart controller that's an accessory that you conveniently won't let people in the select program use their coupons for. Well, guess what? My year's almost up. You're going to give me my birthday present, my little DJI Coolie Cup, and then say, later, thanks for the $35. But you should have let me have the DJI smart controller because I bought the Mavic 2 Pro when it came out like a good little DJI drone boy should. But you didn't let me get the controller at the $400 price you let everybody else buy it at. Okay, rant's over with. And yes, the Mavic 2 Pro is a phenomenal bird. Excellent choice.
I was there, Bill, but I'll give you a comeback, though. In some ways, it's a good thing you don't have the smart controller because the smart controller won't be compatible with the Aviator controller. So you need the standard controller to use the Aviator. Oh,
like that's going to make me feel. Hey, wait. I didn't say. I said I'd pay the $400 with my coupon to get the smart controller. I didn't say I was going to give them my controller.
Right. Oh, that's true. That's true.
Remember, we now have the ability to use 2 controllers. Remember?
That's true, Bill.
If you got the standard controller and a smart controller, you can have your person flying the drone, doing the flight work, and then you can have the person with the smart controller and the video display doing the camera work.
That's a good point, Bill. You make a valid point there.
Yeah, I thought about this for 6.5 hours and even took notes. That's why.
I'm incredibly disappointed I can't use the smart controller with my original Mavic Pro. DJI's just left us Mavic 1 owners in the dust. That's all I have to say about that one.
Come on, when they updated the hardware and everything, what do you want? Okay, I don't care. We'll update the guts and then give you a Mavic 2.
I don't care. I'm salty about it. I don't care if it's unreasonable.
Okay. Ethan's upset too, and Ethan earlier in one of his comments said that I needed to watch one of his early Parrot Anafi videos that he went underneath the trees. And that I just didn't notice it. And I'm sorry for that, sir. I didn't mean to bring it up that way. When it comes to camera birds, I'm still happy with my P4 Advanced. Yeah, that's cool. That's a great bird. It is.
Yeah.
But he was saying, Indigo said he'd like to see a Spark 2 also. And there, like I said, there's drawings out there. They're throwing out a little bit more here and there, like the betas. I still think we're going to get 4K at 30 from the camera this time, even though the sensor was capable of it before, and a 3-axis gimbal.
Hey, Bill, when the Spark 2 does come out, if it does come out, can we have a Spark party on Drone Therapy that week?
For sure. Eric the Red just jumped in.
He did.
The fireworks king himself. I had a gentleman asking me on Facebook today. He's like, man, do you think it would be cool if I strapped fireworks to a drone? I said, I got a buddy that does it all the time. Let me hook you up.
Plus, Eric's the best fisherman I know.
But he does it safely, just in his little garden patch. Nowhere near any people. I don't want anybody to think he does anything off the cuff or anything. The only person involved is him. You never see anybody. Well, that and the aliens that are attacking. So you have to watch the videos to understand what I'm talking about.
Yes. So he flies safely.
Well, there's too many people out there that are going to go bananas, and I'm like, no, man, he flies over his cornfield and his garden, and there's nobody around.
And his fishing hole.
Yeah, there you go. And like I said, there's nobody around. And I've seen him go in the water to save drones before.
Right. Except the bass fish in there.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Oh, cool. The MP4 is on par with the DSLR. But I was watching Ken Dono had put out a good video. The one where he talked about that he bought a Phantom 4 Pro in 2019. And who was it I was talking to this the other night? Maybe it was last week or something we were talking about this. But the picture quality still out of the Phantom 4 Pro is unreal.
Well, video. He was mostly talking about the video quality.
It is. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the Mavic 2 Pro for its portability, and and hopefully eventually they'll figure out a way to open that whole sensor up and give us everything so that maybe it can be closer to the par of the Phantom 4 Pro. But you put the Phantom 4 Pro, I take it back. You put the Mavic 2 Pro in the air and fly it, and you're going to do it going ooh and ah and ooh and ah. And then you pull the Phantom 4 Pro out, and it doesn't have to be V2, but just pull the Phantom 4 Pro out and put it in the air, and you're just going to be like, damn, I wish it was easier to get in the air.
The only thing about the Phantom 4, the only issue I have, my biggest disappointment was trying to keep props out of the picture. You really have to be careful to keep your props out of the shot.
It depends on, but how fast are you going for a shot? I don't understand. I mean, if you're going
in Idaho, where it's wide open spaces here, Bill.
I understand that, but see, that's where you want. Oh, and this is cool because then I get to flip back over. Benson gets to tell us about the 10-inch quads and the 7-inch quads in order to get the really cinematic stuff, and you don't see no prop stuff in there. Like I was saying before, you get the simulation to me of like a bird of prey's point of view.
Yeah.
That's what I love about it. And I think that's it gives me the oohs and ahs. And I get the Nat Geo feel from it. I mean, to me, it blows me away. And then I'm going to tell everybody, he showed us something that he hasn't shared with everybody because he said he didn't like the way he had originally kind of done the first edit. And me and John were just like,
I need to get back up to that glacier and fly it with a modern quad.
And he couldn't fly. And this was 4 years ago, and we were both like, John got thinking, he's like, wait a minute, that was 4 years ago. No real stabilization. Oh, and you were just learning to fly, and we were just like, And I was like, yeah, let me upload it. I'll happily just I did that.
Yeah, it was 2014, I think. So.
Okay, so but the bigger quads so the swooping cinematic type stuff, like where Marcus is talking about and where everybody else seems to be making a point is props are always getting in the way. But now we're beginning to understand that your larger wingspan FPV drones can actually get more of that type of footage that people are trying to get all hell-bent breaking ass in wide open spaces in Idaho. So
there's a geometry we call dead cat for historical reasons. I can go into that later if you want me to. But basically, we've got the arms set really wide in the front. And so our GoPro lens is like way in the middle, way up front. And then our rear arms are set further back and closer together. And then we hang the battery way out the back of the quad. And so what that means is your camera lens is far enough forward that there's no way, because the camera is fixed on this quad, there's no way for the props to ever get in the way of it. And there are a number of dead cat geometry quads in the 7-inch space as well. There's one, my buddy Jordan's is the Project 3989 Super G Plus, which is a really, really wonderful rig. I love flying that. And then my buddy Ryan designed, actually I took my buddy Ryan on a trip to the North Cascades area, and he designed me a quad after that trip because of the things that I flew. I was flying my TBS G2 7-inch, and he wanted to try his hand at designing a 7-inch rig that could compete. And he designed the Ultra Fox, which is currently probably my favorite rig. It runs a TBS Power Cube. You can build it with other stuff, but building with the Team Black Sheep Power Cube is really nice because it's the video layer contains all of the stuff that draws on the screen, the OSD, and the video transmitter, and power conditioning stuff on the bottom, and then your speed control layers are all in the middle, and your motor's soldered to those, and then up the top is your flight controller. And so the
cackling was one of the people in chat said, does Dead Cat refer to the guys who stuffed their real cat and made a drone out of it? And I'm like, no, I don't think that's what he means, but
it actually does. They're right. I think it was at DEF CON, but yeah, the geometry of that stuffed cat was arms wide at the front, and then the legs were kind of like swept back, and so they started to call that the dead cat geometry.
Oh wow! So he was right. That's exactly where the hell it came from. That's cool. That's a trip, man. I thought he was just trying to be a smartass, and it was like, no, that's exactly what it was.
Hey, Bill, Greg Pittman had to say goodnight. He had to leave.
What now?
We had to say goodnight to Greg Pittman. He had to go.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Sorry, Greg. Yep, great show. Glad to have you. Steve Miller, see that you jumped in here. And Ethan Mitchell has a question for you, Benson. He wants to ask if you have any thoughts on a good way of waterproofing an FPV quad. He really wants to fly over water.
Well, don't fly your quad into the water. Strongly discouraged. I tried that one time and I couldn't find it after. Although I have friends who make a habit of crashing in ponds and then going and finding their stuff, and it's often fine. So what you want to do is there's some stuff called conformal coating. Silicone conformal coating is really common. I actually, like I mentioned, I really like the TBS Power Cube to build with, and the Power Cube layers actually come pre-conformal coated from the factory, which is incredibly nice. So then it's just a question of making sure that your receiver is protected from the water, and then your camera lens. And the biggest problem I've had flying in the rain is water droplets collecting on your camera lens. The key there, in my experience, has been to pop it into a dive. So you're accelerating really quickly, and then full throttle and yaw a little bit. And so you've got both gravity pulling, or not gravity, but acceleration pulling the water down off your lens and the wind blowing it sideways. And that combination of things can like kind of clear droplets off your lens. But it's a little bit of a risky maneuver.
Very cool, very cool. I see a drone shot said Flex Seal. Let's see. Oh, and I wanted to go back to this. Eric the Red said that he was gearing up for the summertime firework wars, but this time it was going to be an underwater battle. So I'm trying to figure out, so are we going to have submarines and they're going to be like depth charges, or where are we going with this, Eric?
He's still formulating the idea, Bill. He hasn't got it all together yet. He's still working on it.
That's what I was wondering, man, because he was like, oh, okay, I can see, yeah, you see it's still in the planning stages. And I was like, that's just twisted, because I happened to look over and catch that, and I was like, underwater battles? So, but I was thinking that's a good do it. We need to get like a ship, and he can put like M80s on it, but how would we get him to submerge? You could be like a depth charge, you know, and then launch it off, and then it goes, and then show the underwater view of the sub, and you know.
If anybody can do it, it'll be Eric.
Oh no, he said have to see. He's already got a plan. He's just not going to key us in on it.
Can't reveal it.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And since we're on the subject, we're talking about waterproofing and stuff. Marcus, bring up like where Ethan was talking about the stuff you sprayed on the lens of the A3 in order to keep it from fogging up. Kind of give the same idea of what the issue is, and let's give maybe Benson would have an idea of another way to fix it.
So the issue with the A3 is that at altitude the lens fogs up, and what they what the people at FEMI have suggested is that you pry off the lens cover, and then they want you to put some sealant actually around the lens of the camera, and then put that lens cover back on. I'm not comfortable doing that kind of work, and so really I just want to return the quad and get my money back. But that's the issue with that drone, and a lot of people have that problem. So that's what Bill's getting to. If there's an easy way to fix that, a lot of people would probably want to do that.
Well, I just figured the more brains on a problem, the better.
Exactly.
New brain. And I remember Ethan suggested something about spraying something on it or something.
Yeah. So Ethan was talking about spraying some anti-fog on there, which might be a great idea. Yeah.
Hey, I got an update on the FEMI A3. Our good friend David G, that's Perth West OZRC, he told me just today that he flew his A3. He said in the rain, and he had no issues with the lens fogging up. So luckily, he got a good one.
Oh, that's good to hear.
This is a second generation or something.
Well, I don't think he got his stuff far enough away from Mark's, be a different generation. Hey, listen, while we're on Dave G, Perth West OZRC, he found the deal of the day or the deal of the week. It's a Banggood quad. It's called the Eachine EX2 Mini Brushless, and what it is the clone of the Bugs 3 Mini.
It's like $35, $40.
It's
Only
a
$35.
small brushless whoop. It even has an acro button on it. Now, I don't know how good the acro is, but he found it for only $35 on Banggood. And at RC World and many other groups, he posted a link for it. If you do want to get it, please use David's link to purchase it, because he will get compensated if somebody finds it. But if anybody has had the Bugs Mini, it's a terrific drone, and I've heard this Eachine clone even flies better than the Bugs 3 Mini. So, and I was thinking about ordering one because I want an extra battery for this. An extra battery is like $20, so I could get a whole other quad for just $15 more.
So, what do you guys think about clones?
Just first, a quick second. Janet Wilson, Horse Education, said, "Hi guys, my spark batteries are working perfectly, but I think they are swelling. Is it my imagination, or is anyone else having this same issue?" And to be honest with you, if you think they're swelling, you shouldn't be using them. And back into go.
Benson, what was your question?
What do you guys think of clones, just in general?
I haven't purchased too many. I don't have a lot of experience with clones. I mean, I've heard varying stories. John, do you have any opinions on that?
Kind of different too, varying from toy grade drones to FPV clone type stuff. Right, John?
This is kind of a very interesting topic, because my work is in software, and I understand why people get upset about clones, because someone puts in all this time into R&D of something, and then in software and hardware end, and then some company in China just kind of comes along and quote unquote steals it. So I know we've seen some people in FPV pull out of designing things because they know that if they make it, it's probably just going to get stolen. But on the flip side, the clone stuff does make this hobby more affordable for people who would never have been able to afford it otherwise. And sometimes when a designer makes something, they don't make it available worldwide. So one argument is, well, okay, so the Chinese vendors, they put out a clone, but you're not selling this in a way that someone can easily get it anyway. So you're not really taking from our sales. It's almost like the argument that some people make about piracy, that if I couldn't get it free, I wouldn't have bought it anyway. So I mean, it's definitely an interesting topic. I guess I'm somewhere in the middle, because I know if I made something and I put a lot of time to the software, the hardware development, and then I saw it was on Banggood for $5, when I spent all the time to get that product up, and I'm trying to make $50 off of it, that would completely just kill my whole deal. So What do you think, and how do you feel about it?
Another thing, too, I wanted to bring up real quick is the definition of a clone. Because the particular one that Ron put up, we already know that MJX probably made the drone for
Yeah, that was a licensed drone. Yeah.
And they're selling it as opposed to an out-and-out clone, which is a ripoff.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a really, really nuanced discussion. And I think it's really important. And I obviously, as you've probably gathered so far, I'm a big fan of Team Black Sheep. I think they do a lot of really good work, and they clearly are striving to push our hobby forward. They're trying to invent new things that cost a lot to create. And when someone comes along and says, "Oh, thanks for doing that market research. We figured out that people want to buy this. We'll sell the same thing, but 15% cheaper." That really cuts into the margins that TBS was sort of expecting when they're trying to make back their capital outlay on that research. At the same time, I think that it's really easy for somebody to feel like they have a right to a thing, right, a piece of the market, because they built the first one. And if somebody wants to come and build a better version, then there's room for that. And so it's a complex discussion, but I think what I really care the most about is for consumers to recognize that when you buy a clone of something, what you're saying is to the person who built the original, I don't want to give you my money. I'm going to give my money to these other people. And so when you buy a clone, it's important to keep that in mind. And it's also important to keep in mind quality. The other place where clones are problematic is, people get into the hobby because they can buy something for a third the price, but they end up buying something that costs a third as much 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
And so then they end up spending more and having a worse time. And I don't know that that's necessarily better for them. So it's complicated.
Yeah, and it's also a very case-by-case thing, right, from product to product, because there are some cloned antennas that honestly they work just as good, if not better in some cases, than the brand name antennas. So it really depends on what the product is too, when it comes to whether or not you're going to have bad performance for buying the clone.
Would you be willing to name names there? Because
I don't want to name any specific antennas.
Okay. In my experience, there are certain manufacturers that have really, really high quality bar that nobody else touches. Like I'll call out True RC as making really, really high quality antennas that I really like. I don't want to shame anybody, but I'm more than happy to heap praise on folks who I really trust.
Steve Miller replies, he says it's called capitalism. Well, see, here's the thing is with capitalism, though, at least in this country, we have patents, we have copyright. China and countries like that, they don't respect those things. So they can take the research and development that someone does over here, and of course they can make it cheaper because they didn't spend the time to figure out how it was done. So I mean, yeah, it's capitalism, sure, but it's really a lot more complicated than that.
The China would reverse engineer the software on these products to figure out how it was done, and doing real research their own outside of the reverse engineering of the software, which I understand John's point entirely here.
What's going on here?
Bill, is Bill somehow muted? Bill, we can't hear you.
I don't know.
What? I was?
You're back.
I was over here goofing off, man. I wasn't. I was just listening to you all, but then I just now turned it on because Muscle Car Appraisal came in, and I wanted to say hey, and then Muscle Car said hi, John, and then Steve Miller said thanks, John, and then Muscle Car said hi, Ron. He said hi, Steve, and then John just typed in and said hi, and then Muscle Car Appraisal said cheers, Birdman 316 RC, and then Ron Brown said hello, Muscle Car Appraisal. And did y'all notice I already flew a drone during the show, which is, procedure, and that's why I got to get new batteries because you notice it didn't work.
And Bill, Eric had to say goodnight. Eric the Red had to leave.
Oh, he got to go to work tomorrow probably. Later, Eric, maybe if you watch the replay, you'll see where we said later at night. As a matter of fact, we've already been on for an hour and 30 minutes, which is half an hour past our normal allotted time. And I know people have joined us and been stuck with us and watching us the whole time, and we're grateful for all that. And next week, we're going to have wild and crazy Ethan Mitchell on to kind of talk to us about his workflow process, and not only the drones that he uses to make his videos, but some of his camera gear, maybe his editing style, what all goes into that, because I know he's talked a lot on the other shows here recently about some other stuff. So I let him save some of his knowledge on the parrot stuff for next week on Xeno Nation with the guys. Isn't he coming on with you guys next week, right?
You got it right, Bill. Thanks for the promo. He'll be on Monday night. It's going to be a Nafi Nation that night.
Back to a Nafi Nation. And hopefully, John and I should have new arrivals on Friday this week. So maybe after we have Ethan on, the week after that, we'll do a special Drone Therapy meets Xeno Nation for round two. That's what we'll make it. The Fraternal Order of Xeno Brothers. Ron and Marcus can initiate us into the fraternity.
Sounds like a great idea, Bill.
We'll call it Animal House Xeno style or something.
Who gets to be John Belushi?
Anyway, so with that being said, I'm going to throw it back to everybody, and then let's see. Let's go. I'll go to Marcus, then Marcus can throw to Ron. Ron can throw to John, and then we can throw back to Benson for his good nights, and then I'll end up the show. Marcus.
Hey, all right. Well, thanks for that. Having me on to talk about the Xeno a little bit. It's, as you know, it's one of my favorite subjects. I do want to mention that they got a new camera firmware just released, and it's the first time that I have ever declined to install new firmware. People that are way smarter than me have been able to measure the bit rate, and the new camera firmware has a lower bit rate than the older version, and they say that it is something visibly you can see in the end product in the 4K video. They feel like the purpose of that, they thought, was to help the FPV signal be smoother. I'm not smart enough to know that stuff, but I am declining to do that latest firmware update on the Hubsan Xeno. But then the FIMI X8 has a new update today, so that's what's next. You'll see on my channel. I'm gonna mess around with the update on the FIMI, and we're gonna fly the Xeno, and we are going to compare the follow me function on both of those drones. And guys, just thank you for having me on at the last second. And over to you, Ron.
Thank you so much, Marcus, for coming on and explaining that camera update that came out today as best as you could. And even though next Monday we're going to do a Xeno Nation, we will carve out time to, a Nafi Nation, we will carve out time, do a little bit of Xeno Nation, because we'll probably have more information at that point on this camera update, and we're going to give you whatever we have found out by then. Just like Marcus, I'm going to decline to do the camera update for now, but I'm sure by that point maybe somebody will. So again, we'll fill you up. We'll catch up Monday before we go all out Anafi with the great Ethan Mitchell, who will be with us at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time this Monday night. I don't know what that date is, but set your dials and whatever for it. And I want to thank Benson for being on here with us tonight. It was a lot of interesting information on FPV, way beyond my knowledge. I'm trying to learn more, and I've got a few little FPV quads around here that I don't fly enough, but I'm going to, people like you inspire me to do more of it. So thank you. And John, it was great having you back after just being on with you tonight. I mean, it's just great being around you. I love you. And Bill, thanks for putting us all together. You still put on one of the greatest shows out there on YouTube. We thank you, Bill, for everything you do for the drone community. And I'm going to throw it to John for his final thoughts on the evening.
Well, so yeah, I want to thank Benson for coming on and, you know, talking to us about his long range FPV. That was really cool. I just dropped a link to his website that we talked about earlier on all the tips and information that he's gathered when it comes to doing those kinds of flights. Because as I was saying earlier, you know, whenever you inquire about things like that in the group, people are just like, just get Crossfire. And so it looks like there's a lot of great information for you guys there. So yeah, there's the link. It's always awesome to come here and talk with you guys. And I'm glad that we're like Xeno bros now. I know we keep dumping the Xeno now, but yeah, we're all Xeno brothers now. So yeah, it's awesome. And I will see you guys again sometime. That's for sure.
Benson.
All right, I'm going to toss it over to Benson.
All right. Well, thanks all for having a nice chat. It's been great to talk about a little bit of everything. Always love talking quads, and I hope that folks are inspired to go fly smooth and slow on an FPV rig sometime, because it's a lot more fun than you can really imagine. So thanks for having me.
Well, I'm glad that you came on. I'm very thankful for having you on. I love seeing your cinematic work, and please keep it up. I intend to watch much, much more. And with that being said, I see that Ethan Mitchell said, John Cuppi, what do you think about Josh Bartwell? Not Bardwell, but Bartwell's video?
Now, are you really going to pick on the guy for doing the T instead of the D? I mean, we all know who he's talking about, man. Come on.
Obviously, he doesn't, or he wouldn't have called him Bartwell. And yes, I got to. Come on, man. It's therapy. He's coming on next week. Now he's got something to get on the couch about, don't he?
Josh Bartwell.
No.
I'm a huge fan of Josh Bartwell, as I was saying.
He does. I'm just ripping on him. And I just want to say thank you, everybody, for coming in and hanging out with us. We had a blast. And please join us next week when Ethan comes on, and we'll talk about drones all over again. Peace.
Peace.